Welcome to Beau Eminent channel. That's a compelling question, and one that has intrigued scientists for decades. While the dominant theory holds that Neanderthals, Homo neanderthalensis, went extinct around 40,000 years ago, some researchers continue to ask whether this narrative might be overlooking signs of survival, either through direct lineage, cultural persistence, or genetic legacy. Here's a breakdown of the debate. Thanks for watching. Request you to subscribe the channel. DNA genetic survival, not extinct, just absorbed? Modern humans of non-African descent carry 1 to 2% Neanderthal DNA, suggesting that interbreeding occurred before Neanderthals disappeared. This has led to a reframing of extinction. They may have merged with Homo sapiens rather than been wiped out. Implication: rather than being wholly extinct, Neanderthals may survive within us, genetically. For over a century, the prevailing story has been that Neanderthals, our closest human relatives, vanished from the Earth around 40,000 years ago, their fate sealed by climate change, competition from Homo sapiens, or perhaps a mix of both. Yet, new research and fresh interpretations of old evidence suggest that the extinction of Neanderthals might not have been as absolute as we once thought. Modern humans today carry between 1 to 2% Neanderthal DNA, a fact revealed by genetic mapping in the past decade. This means interbreeding occurred when Neanderthals and Homo sapiens met, likely in Europe or Western Asia. But this discovery has sparked a more profound question: if their genes live on in us, can we truly say they are extinct? In a biological sense, perhaps not. Some scientists now describe Neanderthals not as a separate species that went extinct, but as a branch of humanity that was absorbed into a wider family. They may have vanished from the fossil record, but their legacy is embedded in every cell of many living people. Beyond genetics, there are more provocative whispers in the fossil record that suggest Neanderthals may have survived longer than we believe. In a cave in Gibraltar, evidence indicates Neanderthals could have persisted until about 28,000 years ago, well after their supposed extinction elsewhere. Further east, in the chilly Siberian wilds, tools and bones hint at a patchwork of Neanderthal holdouts who clung to survival in remote refuges. Adding to the mystery are legends and folk tales passed down through isolated cultures, stories of wild, human-like beings with immense strength and strange habits. In Central Asia, tales of the Almas echo through the mountains, while in the Caucasus and parts of Siberia, strange hominin-like remains have stirred speculation. Though no hard evidence supports the idea that Neanderthals survived into recent history, these cultural echoes hint at the long shadows they may have cast on human memory. Culturally, Neanderthals are no longer seen as brutish cavemen. Recent discoveries have uncovered their symbolic artwork, burial practices, and sophisticated tools. They may have taught Homo sapiens more than we realize, perhaps even influencing early human language, technology, or spiritual beliefs. In this way, the Neanderthal mind may have shaped our own, leaving behind not just bones, but ideas. So are we overlooking Neanderthal survival? Not in the literal sense, they are almost certainly extinct as a distinct population. But in a broader, more meaningful way, they persist. In our genes, in our shared past, and perhaps in faint memories carried by ancient stories, Neanderthals are not as distant as we once believed. The real mystery may not be whether they survived, but how much of them continues to live on in us. Echoes of the ancients. Are we overlooking Neanderthal survival? In the cold shadow of Ice Age Europe, Neanderthals once roamed forests, hunted great beasts, and tended to their families under the flickering light of hearth fires. For hundreds of thousands of years, they thrived. They survived glacial cycles, adapted to harsh climates, and developed tools and cultures uniquely their own. Then, around 40,000 years ago, they began to vanish. The official story says they went extinct. But what if that's not the whole truth? What if, somewhere in the hidden folds of history, some Neanderthals survive, not only in our DNA, but in form, in whispers, in places long forgotten? Science has already reshaped the image of Neanderthals. No longer the dull-witted cave brutes of early caricature, we now know they painted, made jewelry, buried their dead with care, and used language. They were not primitive dead ends, but a sister species, intelligent, emotional, and astonishingly human. And then came the genetic revelation: nearly all non-African people today carry Neanderthal genes. This wasn't a hostile encounter, it was an intimate one. Homo sapiens and Neanderthals met, lived alongside each other, and interbred. In this sense, Neanderthals never fully disappeared. They were absorbed, like rivers merging into a single current. But not all scientists are content with this quiet conclusion. In certain remote pockets of the world, rocky crags in the Caucasus, dense forests of Siberia, and the mountainous plateaus of Central Asia, researchers have uncovered clues that hint at a more complex story. In Denisova Cave in Russia, Neanderthal DNA was recovered from bones that may be just 40,000 years old, suggesting they were among the last of their kind. In Gibraltar's Gaham's Cave, fire-blackened hearts and charred bones indicate Neanderthals may have lived there well after they supposedly died out elsewhere. Could there have been hidden pockets of survivors, eking out life in isolation while the rest of the world changed? The possibility becomes more intriguing when folklore is added to the mix. For centuries, shepherds in the Caucasus have passed down tales of the Almas, wild, hairy people with deep-set eyes and strange voices, living in the high mountains. In Mongolia and Siberia, similar tales speak of shadowy forest beings that seemed more man than beast. Skeptics dismiss these as mythology or misidentified animals. But others ask, could these stories be faded memories of real encounters with Neanderthal holdouts, passed down across generations? Even if no living Neanderthals remained into modern times, their legacy is deeper than bone or myth. Some scientists now believe certain Neanderthal genes influence our immune systems, our sleep cycles, even how we process pain. Our response to disease, the shape of our skulls, and perhaps even fragments of our personalities may be shaped by their ancient touch. Far from extinct, Neanderthals may have seeded parts of themselves into the core of what it means to be human. Perhaps the final lesson of the Neanderthals isn't about extinction at all. It's about kinship, about the quiet persistence of ancient blood and memory. In the end, we did not destroy the Neanderthals. We became them, or rather, they became part of us.